Cek 1.
Hello. Mr. Panelist, could you please replace your name from panelist to your real name?
Mbak Yanti. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed to the main event, please kindly allow us to invite all members of the Parliament, the Vice Governor of the East Kalimantan, Military Resort Commander 091, and all of the panelists to take the stage for the group photos. The group photos will be followed by the exchanging of token of appreciation between the Committee of Interparliamentary Cooperation with the East Kalimantan Province and the Mula Warman University.
ya.
Diikuti dengan penukaran souvenir, kami mohon Bapak Fadlizon untuk tetap di tempat dan Bapak Wakil Gubernur. Selanjutnya Bapak Wakil Rektor Universitas Mula Warman dengan Bapak Fadlizon. Thank you, Honorable ladies and gentlemen. Please kindly be seated as we will begin our event shortly. The meeting will be conducted in English and in Bahasa Indonesia. Simultaneous interpretation system device is available on your table. For those who join us online, you can switch on the interpretation option. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Honorable Dr. Fadlizon, Chairperson of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation, Honorable Members of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation, welcome to Samarinda. Honorable Vice Governor of the East Kalimantan Province, H. Hadi Mulyadi, SSI, MSI, thank you for accepting our invitation to hold this event. Greetings also to Professor Dr. Mustafa Agung Sarjono, Deputy Rector of the Mula Warman University, and Dr. Mahendra Putra Kurnia, SH.MH, Dean of Faculty of Law, Mula Warman University. A warm welcome also to Ambassador Matthew Hedges, Director for Asia and Americas of WFD, former UK Ambassador to Paraguay and Deputy Ambassador to Myanmar, who join us virtually from the United Kingdom. And greetings to our notable panelists, participants, and those who join us virtually. For the first remarks, we would like to invite Dr. Mahendra Putra Kurnia, SH.MH, Dean of Faculty of Law, the Mula Warman University. Please, Pak.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang pada para hadirin yang kami hormati. The Honorable Member of DPR RI, the Honorable Governor of East Kalimantan, and the Honorable Representative of UN Reporter for Human Rights and Environmental, the Honorable WFD Representative for Asia and America, and all of the panelists in this occasion. It is an honor for the Faculty of Law and University Mula Warman to be involved in this event, which is involve the Indonesian Parliament, United Nations, and WFD, which are directly affiliated with British Parliament. This activity has an important position because we are a part of university that focus on tropical studies, and environmental issues are part of it. So We thank you for this opportunity, and hopefully this will be a good first situation for next cooperation in the future. So that's all I can say. Thank you for your attention, and hopefully we can finish this occasion with successfully in the last. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahendra. The next remarks is from Mr. David R. Boyd, UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and Environment, who's addressing this August event through a video message due to a significant time differences.
David Boyd, and 2 years ago I was appointed by the UN Human Rights Council as the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and the Environment. Special rapporteurs are independent experts who promote the fulfillment of human rights across the world based on our expertise in a specific area. So I'm tasked with promoting the fulfillment of the right to a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, identifying best practices in fulfilling this right, identifying challenges to the fulfillment of the right to a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, and presenting annual reports, one to the Human Rights Council and one to the UN General Assembly. So when we look at Indonesia, and I was absolutely delighted to learn about this collaborative effort between the Westminster Foundation for Democracy and the Indonesian Parliament, Indonesia has a very strong foundation for environmental democracy. Article 28H of the Indonesian Constitution recognizes the right to a good, healthy environment. And this right is also incorporated into Indonesian human rights law and Indonesian environmental law. So that basic foundation is in place. Like many countries, there is a gap, an implementation gap, between the words that we see on paper and the conditions that we see in our communities and in the environment. And of course, like all countries, Indonesia faces the challenges of climate change, biodiversity loss, air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, and others. But when we talk about environmental democracy, we're really talking about the critical tools that are available to people to help fulfill and achieve human rights, including the right to a healthy environment, the rights to water, the right to food, etc. And those pillars of environmental democracy are transparency and access to information, public participation in environmental decision-making, and access to justice and effective remedies where their rights are being threatened or violated. So I think it's really critically important that Indonesia take action domestically to close the gap between the strong words on paper in the Constitution and human rights and environmental legislation and the conditions that are being experienced by the people of Indonesia. For example, the air pollution that plagues the capital of Jakarta. And I would strongly encourage Indonesia and the Indonesian Parliament to be regional leaders in the development of a regional treaty that is based on the pillars of environmental democracy, similar to what has been done in Europe and Western Asia through the Aarhus Convention, and similar to what's been done more recently in Latin America and the Caribbean through the Escazú Agreement. I wish you good luck, and I remain willing to assist you in any way that I can to fulfill your objectives where they are overlapping with the work that I'm doing as the Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and the Environment. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Honorable ladies and gentlemen, this event is initiated by the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation in partnership with the Westminster Foundation for Democracy. For the next remarks, we would like to invite Ambassador Matthew Hedges, Director for Asia and Americas of WFD, former UK Ambassador to Paraguay, and Deputy Ambassador to Myanmar.
Good afternoon. Dr. Fadlizon MP, the Chair of the Interparliamentary Cooperation Committee, Mr. Hadi Mulyadi, the Vice Governor of East Kalimantan Province, Dr. Mahendra, Dean of Faculty of Law, at Mulawman University, and honourable members of the Interparliamentary Cooperation Committee. It has been my pleasure to speak at each of these discussions that are part of this extremely important series. And I'm delighted to be here early this morning in the UK and at lunchtime there in order to speak to you on this critical issue, which is justice. Every nation has the right to use its resources as it sees fit to achieve growth and prosperity for its people. However, governments also have the obligation to ensure that economic growth should be equitable, benefiting all of its people without leaving anyone behind, and sustainable, benefiting the next generation. At Westminster Foundation for Democracy, we believe that environmental democracy is one of many ways to support countries aiming to achieve equitable and sustainable growth. Environmental democracy suggests that the decision-making concerning land and natural resources should involve meaningful public participation, and it is critical that the decisions adequately and equitably address citizens' interests. At its core, environmental democracy involves three mutually reinforcing rights, which we have explored through this series of discussions. Namely, the right to freely access information on environmental quality and problems, the right to participate meaningfully in decision-making, and lastly, the right to seek enforcement of environmental laws or compensation for harm, justice. And protecting these rights, especially for the most marginalized and vulnerable, is the first step to promoting equity and fairness in sustainable development. Without essential rights, information exchange between governments and the public is stifled, and decisions that harm communities and the environment cannot be challenged or remedied. Establishing a strong legal foundation, is the starting point for recognizing, protecting, and enforcing environmental democracy. Indonesia ranked 17th out of 70 countries surveyed under the Environmental Democracy Index launched by the World Resources Institute in 2015. This comparative high score among developing countries is the result of legal frameworks and procedures which are already in place. There remains, however, some criticism that these legal and procedural bases have not adequately protected vulnerable groups and societies from being harmed by environmental policies or other policies with environmental impact. National and international media carry stories involving groups or communities that have found accessing environmental justice in Indonesia difficult. And in addition, the Environmental Democracy Index does not factor in the wide range of government affairs which are devolved to provinces and to district and city. The index has no indicators measuring environmental bylaws passed by local governments or of their impact. Westminster Foundation for Democracy sees this as an opportunity to contribute. We are committed to work with the Indonesian House of Representatives, the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation, and with other committees, along with universities and civil society organizations, to play meaningful roles to achieve sustainable and equitable growth for all of Indonesia's people. Thank you once again for the initiative to be with you today, and I wish you every success with the initiatives that will flow from today's discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. For the next remarks, we kindly invite Honorable Vice Governor of the East Kalimantan Province, Hadi Mulyadi, SSI, MSI.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Yang saya hormati dan saya banggakan Bapak Fadlizon, Ketua Badan Kerjasama Antar Parlemen Bksap Dpr RI, beserta seluruh anggota yang hadir pada hari ini. Bapak anggota DPRD Provinsi, Pak Saprudin, makasih atas kehadirannya. Bapak Mustafa Agung, Wakil Rektor Universitas Melawarman, dan Bapak Mahendra, Dekan Fakultas Hukum Universitas Melawarman, beserta seluruh Kepala Dinas Lingkungan Pemerintah Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dan hadirin yang saya hormati. Pertama-tama kami mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Bapak Dr. Haji Falizon, SSMSI, Ketua Badan Kerjasama Parlemen DPR RI, dan anggota Bksap yang telah menyelenggarakan FGD pada hari ini. Terima kasih juga kami sampaikan kepada Westminster Foundation for Democracy, WFD, dan Universitas Melawarman yang turut mendukung pelaksanaan acara pada hari ini. Pembangunan hijau telah menjadi arus utama dalam RJPMD Kalimantan Timur tahun 2019-2023. Pelaksanaan visi kami yang bertemakan berani untuk Kalimantan Timur berdaulat didukung oleh misi kedua yang menekankan pada transformasi ekonomi Kalimantan Timur dan perekonomian berbasis lahan dan sumber daya alam yang tidak terbarukan menjadi ekonomi berbasis industri dan manufaktur yang memanfaatkan sumber daya alam yang terbarukan. Selain itu, dalam misi keempat RPJMD 2019-2023, Kaltim juga mendorong kedaulatan dalam pengelolaan sumber daya alam yang berkelanjutan. Insya Allah Kaltim merupakan provinsi yang peduli terhadap pembangunan hijau dan penurunan emisi. Terbukti ditetapkannya Provinsi Kaltim oleh pemerintah pusat sebagai lokasi pilot project penurunan emisi berbasis yurisdiksi melalui program FCVF Carbon Fund. Program ini merupakan kerjasama pemerintah Indonesia dan Bank Dunia yang dilaksanakan mulai tahun 2020 sampai 2024. Dengan program ini diperkirakan akan terjadi penurunan emisi dan degradasi dan deforestasi hutan sebesar 61,3 juta ton CO2 ekuivalen di Kalimantan Timur. Namun, berdasarkan draft final perjanjian pembayaran, program FCVF Carbon Fund Indonesia hanya memiliki kesediaan dana sebesar $110 juta sebagai insentif bagi penurunan 22 juta ton CO2 ekuivalen di Kalimantan Timur. Sehingga masih ada sekitar 40 juta ton potensi penurunan emisi CO2 yang belum mendapatkan apresiasi. Jadi masih ada PR dari Kalimantan Timur untuk melakukan itu, tapi kami perlu sampaikan Pak Ketua, kami telah melakukan setidak-tidaknya sepertiga daripada yang telah ditargetkan. Kami pemerintah provinsi berharap agar Bksap Dpr RI dapat menjembatani pemerintah Provinsi Kalimantan Timur dengan pihak terkait dalam upaya penurunan emisi berbasis lahan. Kerjasama yang telah dilakukan Bksap Dpr RI dan Westminster Foundation for Democracy dapat menjadi sarana untuk mendapatkan dukungan dari pemerintah Inggris yang melalui dua lembaga pemerintahnya yang merupakan donor bagi program FCVF Carbon Fund bersama-sama dengan 8 negara dan 2 perusahaan atau lembaga internasional lainnya. Terakhir, kami ucapkan apresiasi, semoga FGD ini dapat bermanfaat untuk semua pihak menuju pembangunan hijau yang berkeadilan di Indonesia, khususnya di Kalimantan Timur sebagai calon ibu kota negara. Semoga FGD ini dapat mendukung tugas diplomasi Bksap Dpr RI sebagai bagian multi-track demokrasi untuk memperjuangkan kepentingan nasional di Indonesia. Terakhir, izinkan saya menyampaikan pesan kepada kita semua. Tanam pepaya di Kota Raja. Pepaya dijual di Pasar Merdeka. Kami bangga kepada Bapak Ibu semua, selalu bekerja untuk bangsa dan negara. Panen selasih di Bakahuni, selasih diminum di tepi kali. Terima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu DPR RI telah hadir pada acara hari ini. Boleh Pak saya tambahkan? Pohon beringin lebat daunnya, buah mangga manis rasanya. Kalau ingin Indonesia sejahtera, mari bekerja dengan cinta dan doa. Sudah 3 Pak Ketua. Ya. Boleh terakhir 1 Pak. Tanam, jadi gini, sudah disebut 3, entah tambah 1 lagi. Pohon kelapa daunnya lebat, parang ditunggu ambil buahnya. Sudah 3 pantun kubuat, sekarang menunggu mana hadiahnya. Bapak sekalian, sekali lagi kami ucapkan terima kasih, dan sebelum saya tutup izinkan saya menyampaikan salam hormat dari Bapak Gubernur Kalimantan Timur, Bapak Dr. Insinyur Haji Isran Nur, Beliau masih di Jakarta dan saya hari ini sangat berbahagia dan bersyukur karena saya bertemu dengan senior saya, Pak Fadlizon. Mohon izin Pak, saya dulu pernah di Komisi 2, juga pernah di Komisi 7. Saya dulu Wakil Ketua Komisi 7 periode yang lalu dan pernah di Badan Anggaran dan juga di Badan Sosialisasi 4 Pilar bersama-sama rekan yang lainnya. Terima kasih. Burung Irian, Burung Cendrawasih, sekian dan terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Bapak Wakil Gubernur. Terima kasih atas pantun-pantunnya juga. As the final remarks for this opening session, we kindly invite Honorable Dr. Fadlizon, Chairperson of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation.
Honorable Bapak Hadi Mulyadi, SSI, MSI, the Vice Governor of the East Kalimantan Province. This is the candidate for our capital of Indonesia and also one of the richest province in Indonesia. Thank you very much for hosting this event, Pak Gubernur. Excellency Ambassador Matthew Hedge, Director for Asia and the Americas of the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Dr. Mahendra Putra Kurnia, SHMH, Dean of Faculty of Law, Mula Warman University, Professor Dr. Mustafa Agung Sarjono, Deputy Rector on Academic Affairs, Mula Warman University, Honorable members of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation, and members of the Regional House of Representatives of the East Kalimantan Province. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon us all. And a very good afternoon for all of us. Firstly, on behalf of the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House of Representatives of Indonesia, allow me to extend my appreciation to Bapak Hadi Mulyadi, SSI, MSI, Vice Governor of East Kalimantan Province, for hosting this forum. I would like to welcome our distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, and our friends from Mula Warman University. I'm here with 5 members of parliaments. I think I should also introduce my colleague, Bapak Effendi Sianipar, from PDIP, Dr. Andes Imade Urip, also from PDIP, Bapak Hasbi Ansori, SAMM, from Nasdem Party, and Ibu Lulu Nurhamidah, MSI, MPA, from PKB faction in our parliament. So this discussion is part of the discussion trilogy held by our committee in partnership with the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, WFD, and kindly allow me to thank WFD for the ongoing partnership and the efforts in organizing this forum. During the previous 2 events, we have been discussing on innovative citizen engagement and public participation in legislative matters related to green growth. So today, we will finalize our series of discussion with the focus on accessing justice in environmental matters. Those 3 main themes are part of the 3 pillars of environmental democracy. As the beacon of democracy, Parliament is in the position to take the leading role to mainstreaming this issue in public policy and internalizing it into the work of the Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, access to justice is the basic principle of the rule of law. In the absence of access to justice, people are unable to make their voice heard and exercising their rights to get fair legal treatment. Fairly speaking, our history has been a gloomy one when it comes to access to justice. Also, environmental issues has never been the top of our priority for far too long. decades of injustices have created social and economic disadvantages to certain groups in our society. In critical time, such as the global pandemic like today, the consequences of imbalances in our society reminds us on the urgency for change. So the environmental democracy principle is the starting point for us. Although implementation of its pillars must always be rooted in our national context and priorities. So therefore, I'm happy that today we have combination of experts that will looking at this issue from international and national perspectives. Hereby, I officially open this meeting. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Fadli, for setting the context of this focus group discussion and to officially open our event. That would be the end of this opening session. For our next session, I will hand over to our moderators, Ibu Wiwi Harjanti, SH LLM, from the Faculty of Law of the Mula Warman University, and Pak Agus Wijayanto, Indonesia Country Representative of WFD. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin this session. All right, so welcome to the round of the focus group discussion series on green economy and environmental democracy, organized by the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation of the House of Representatives in collaboration with the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Faculty of Law, Mula Warman University, hosted also by the provincial government of East Kalimantan. We already conducted the first and second FGDs in Bali and Bandung in September and earlier this month. And for today's discussion, as mentioned by Matthew, the Director for ASEAN Americas of WFD, and Dr. Boyd, UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights and Environment, that Indonesia has the right to utilize its resources to achieve growth for prosperity of its people. However, the utilization of that resources must be sustainable and equitable. That is going to benefit all the Indonesian people without leaving anyone behind. At the same time, it also needs to consider the next generation to have a chance to also enjoy the resources. The environmental democracy is an approach that is going to be conducted in order to support how Indonesia can make sure that that sustainable and equitable growth can be achieved. There are three pillars that is considered in that environmental democracy. The first is the right to freely access information and environmental quality and problems. Secondly is the right to participate meaningfully in decision-making of environmental matters, environmental policies, or other policies which have impact to environment. And the third is the topic of our discussion today, is the right to seek enforcement of environmental laws and compensation for harm of every environmental related policies. So today we will particularly discuss about the right to seek enforcement, environmental and compensation for harm. And there are many, some of the Indonesian people which is vulnerable or marginalized of the environmental policies might be still some headlines in several news. So I think it is very important to discuss all those issues to make sure that every Indonesian have access to justice every time they have a problem with environmental policies. For that, we would like to invite 4 speakers. The first speaker is Dr. Stefanus Winibaldus Mere, an associate professor and research fellow at the Institute for Social Ethics of Nanzan University, Japan. He is going to join us online. The second speaker will be Ibu Ruka Sambolinggi, the Secretary General of Alliance of the Indigenous Communities of the Archipelago, Asosiasi Masyarakat Adat Nusantara, or AMAN. And the third speaker is Professor Mustafa Agung Sarjono, Professor in Forestry and also the Vice Rector on Academic Affairs of Mullah Warman University. And the third will be Dr. Muhammad Muhdar, Senior Lecturer in Environmental Law at the Faculty of Law, Mullah Warman University. This discussion will then be led by Ibu Wiwi, who is going to moderate the event fully. Wiwi, time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Agus. The first speaker will be Mr. Stefanus Winibaldus Mere, and he is a senior research fellow and associate professor at the Institute of Social Ethics of Nanzan University, Nagoya, Japan. He received his PhD in Law Social Law School, University of London. The focus of his research has been on the responsibility and accountability of multinational corporations with regard to human rights within the prism of the interlink between international and national law, as well as hard and soft law. His current research project include economic and business ethics, and a law, social system and ethics, and then Catholic social ethics. As to the project on the accountability of multinational corporations with regard to human rights, the Institute has decided to focus on corporate human rights due diligence as one of the common research topics from the year 2019 onwards. And the second speaker, Ibu Ruka Sambolinggi. Ibu Ruka is the Secretary General of the Alliance of Indigenous Peoples of the Archipelago, or Aliansi Masyarakat Adat, AMAN, which currently has around 1,025 indigenous communities and 30 indigenous organizations as members. Ruka herself belonged to Toraja people in Central Sulawesi. She produced a documentary film entitled Standing Strong on the Tsunami Ruins in April 2005 about indigenous communities affected by a tsunami Aceh. And then the third speaker, Dr. Muhammad Muhdar. Dr. Muhammad Muhdar, SHM, and he is a senior lecturer in environmental law, Faculty of Law, Mullah Warman University. And now he is a director of Prakarsa Borneo, an organization that defends the right of people in law, economic, and environment in Kalimantan up to now. The fourth speaker is Professor Dr. Mustafa Agung Sarjono. He is a professor in forestry and deputy rector on academic affairs, Mullah Warman University. To open this discussion, I would like to invite the first speaker, Mr. Stefanus Winibaldus Mere. Mr. Mere, the screen is yours.
Hi, good afternoon. It's an honor to be part of this discussion this afternoon. Introduction about myself is already done by the moderator, so I just go directly to my presentation. So I will share my presentation. So this afternoon, I was asked to talk about business and green growth. So I choose the topic business and green growth, environmental justice for inclusive well-being. My research is about business and human rights, especially about the accountability of transnational corporations with regard to human rights and environment. Background problems, I think most of us already recognize these problems. It's a general knowledge. Core issue at the heart of economic growth and sustainable development paradigm. The main problem is that how to synergize dual challenges for poverty reduction through economic growth and ecological protection, how we achieve environment and ecological justice. The focus will be on the impacts of various aspects of development and economic growth on ecological well-being. So the main challenges here is that approaches to poverty elimination brings along ecological degradation, unfair control of natural resource use, and also pollution. So the result of this conflictive paradigm is that structural ecological inequality in our society. So because of this contradictive paradigm reality, the human cost of environment and ecological change is that usually vulnerable population, those who don't have this resource, poor people, those who are disadvantaged in our society. So because of this conflictive paradigm, now we talk about, because my topic today is about business and environment, how business can contribute to green growth. So first, let us look at the roles of business in our society. As you, all of us already know, the main role of business is to produce or distribute goods and services to satisfy public needs and demands. So the main purpose of business, of course, to make profits and also creating wealth. But at the same time, business also provide jobs, and also by doing so, reduce poverty in our society. And in the context of green growth, we expect that business activities should achieve sustained and equitable economic growth. Means it should create economic justice in our society. This means that to create a balance between rate of economic growth and its quality. This means that the ability of growth to provide multiple environmental benefits for improving the quality of ecological well-being. But here is the main challenges in our recent political economic paradigm. The dominant business doctrine under neoliberal capitalist economy. In 1970, Friedman, he once said that when people asked him what is the social responsibility of business, he said that, he wrote in New York Times, there is one and only one social responsibility of business, to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits, so long as it stays within the rules of the game. So according to him, the social responsibility of business is business only, means just to make profit. But this is very problematic, this statement, because if it's only profits, then we will ignore environment and also human rights. And also, if we make profits so long as it stays within the rules of the game, if we look at most of the regulation in our society, especially related to business, usually most of the laws in favor of business actors. This is because in making law, usually lobbyists and from business side also, usually they try to create a law and influence our representative to create law that in favor of them. So if we have that kind of law, and if we make profit so long as it stays within the rules of the game, and then I think we cannot achieve environmental justice in our society. So if we do business in our society with this kind of doctrine, it means that we will create a business profit at the cost of social and environmental matters. So it will be why today we talk about this environmental justice or green growth. It is because this so far business also a part of this environmental problem. Of course, we need business in our society. It's very vital for our life because they provide everything we need in our life. But another side of that, business also has a role in create this environmental harm, ecological harm. And if there is environmental harm, some of human rights also is violated. And that's why now we people call for this environmental justice. We expect that business can do business operation that can keep the balance between burdens and benefits in our society. So in order to know what's the real role of business in our society, we need to understand first the status of business in our society. So business enterprises is an organ of society. It means that when they do business, they need a legal license. It means they have to follow certain rules or legal standard, and then they can do business. But at the same time, also they need social license to operate. It means that society around them also should recognize them. So if not, for example, if they violate human rights, or if they create a harm to the environment, then there will be protests or people will raise against them. And if this happens, it also will create, for example, disrupt their business operation. And this also will bring a negative impact for business activities as well. Or if there is a legal action against business in the court, it means the business also exposed to public, and then people will have a bad image about them. So it will destroy their reputation or brand as well. So if this happens and people raise against them, it means this also will affect their profits as well. That's why the conclusion of this is that green growth or business while respect human rights and environment, this is actually good for business profit as well. So the most important thing here is that the balance between how business activities make profit while respect people and planet. So this is a very ideal in our society, but when we come to policy and how we should make law in our society, we have to face reality in our society. There is a conflict of interest among so many groups in our society. So whether we make policy and law, we take a thick approach. I divide into three here. Thick approach means a radical approach. We abandon this neoclassical economic, or maybe we are not in favor of growth, or we just trust state to do everything. And then we just take this politically revolutionary approach. So this means that we have to make a radical transformation in our society, create a structural justice in our society. Or we just take the thin approach, means we still embrace neoliberal economic paradigm, and also we treat green growth only accessory, and also minimal state intervention in business activities, and we take this environmental justice just incremental. It's just addition to our effort to create justice in our society. This means we will allow for this market justice to dominate our economic system, for example. So it means that we will just, it is business as usual, but actually we have now, we need access to environmental justice because we have this kind of economic paradigm in our society. So when we have this so many conflicting interests in our society, I think maybe this is the realistic way to take a moderate approach when we have to craft a policy or make law. It means we make necessary change to economic policy and practices. We focus not only quantity, but also quality of growth, including this green growth. And also we need, to some extent, we need state intervention as well to create law for business activities. And also politically, we should take an approach of SR reformist. It means we should create egalitarian justice, mean a sort of equity, equality in our society. So the main question here is that which approach and standards better provide access to social and environmental justice? This in business activities, actually this last almost 10 years, the approach of international community is principle pragmatism approach. This is introduced by John Ruggie in 2008. I will introduce that later. But now so many people think that no, it is not enough because it is voluntary. Some scholars think that no, we should go beyond that. This principle pragmatism means we should take a Ruggie plus, go beyond what Ruggie had proposed for international community. So what is that principle pragmatism approach? So the main question of this pragmatism approach, whether, where, and how policies related to business aim at encouraging a green growth can better take account of full range of justice impacts and prospects in environmental justice and environmental matters. So when we talk about this protect, respect, remedy, and business and human rights, this is consists of 3 pillars. The first one is state duty to protect, and then the second one, corporate responsibility to respect, and then access to remedy. So the first one, state duty to protect, this is the duty of state under international human rights law. Means state has a responsibility to craft policy and also regulation for people in that country to respect human rights, including business agents, business actors. And also if there are human rights abuses or environmental harms, then the state also should adjudicate, punish those who harm the environment or abuse human rights. And the second one, corporate responsibility to respect, this active due diligence to avoid infringement of human rights or environment, and also address adverse impacts on human rights. So what is this active due diligence to avoid infringement of environment and human rights? This is the human rights due diligence and also environment due diligence framework according to the protect, respect, remedy framework. So the first one is that the company or business organs should craft policy how they are going to do about human rights in their business activities. And then they have to identify and assess human rights risk and impact, and also environment risk and impact. And then if there are human rights risks and that maybe impact people in the society, they should make some policies or concrete action to prevent or to mitigate them. And then in order to know that the track of their policy or their implementation, they should track the implementation and result. And all this process should be communicated to public in society. That's why we talk today about right to information in environmental justice, because people should know what business operation look like in our society. If there is human rights harm or if there is a risk and impact, then they should open that to public. And if there are those who become the victim of their business operation, then they to provide access to remedy as well. So this is a human rights due diligence policy that should be taken by all business actors. And the third one is access to remedy. This means the effective access to victims, for victims to have remedy. And also this can be judicial or non-judicial. The first one here, the state should make sure that corporations comply with their responsibility to respect human rights. Some company I will introduce later, they already start this voluntarily, but some they just ignore it. That's why the state should enact law to make this human rights due diligence and environmental due diligence obligation as a mandatory one for all companies. And if they fail to exercise this due diligence obligation, then the state should punish them. There should be must be means of accountability to punish them or to remedy the victim. So I did use one good business practice. This is did by PepsiCo and Oxfam's Fair Company and Community Partnership. So they use due diligence principles, and then they try to connect this green growth or environmental justice, SDGs, and profits. So they make profits while using due diligence obligation, responsibility, and their business operations. And they try to connect this each aspect of human rights with each sustained development goals. So they combine it together and then use these due diligence principles to achieve, to make profit in their business operation. So if there is a harm that results from business activities, then the company, as their part, the states, as their part of duty to adjudicate, they should provide access to remedy for environmental harms in business activities. So this is two elements of this access to remedy for environmental harms in business activities. The first one, substantive one, and the second one, procedural one. The substantive one, this if there is harm, then the state should counteract or restore the harm. It can be through public apologies or restitution, financial and non-financial compensation, punitive sanction. This can be criminal and administrative. And procedural element, this can be divided into three: state-based judicial mechanism, and then state-based non-judicial mechanism, and non-state-based mechanism. So state-based judicial mechanism, the state should make sure that the law is available in the society, availability and applicability of laws. Because the gap in regulatory norms in our society also become quite barriers for people, those who become the victims of environmental harms, to seek justice. And also that states also should overcome all legal, practical, and procedural barriers. For example, the cost, legal representative, or experts that can help the victim. Non-state-based, non-judicial mechanism, this can be in the form of mediation-based or adjudicative mechanism. So the state also can make sure that there is effective national human rights and environmental institutions and agencies in the country. Because this state-based judicial mechanism usually takes time and the process is quite complicated. In the place of that, in order to complement that, we need this mediation-based and also adjudicative mechanism in our society. Because in some cases, maybe this is we can help the victim immediately because these national human rights and environmental institutions can mediate between the victims and business side, and then they can provide remedy for the victim. And non-state-based mechanism, this is for by company themselves, corporation themselves, or by regional and international human rights bodies. So these three, this is substantive and procedural elements of access to remedy for environmental harms in business activities. This is the last one. To ensure the effectiveness of access to environmental justice related to business activities, The first one, remedies must be capable of leading to a prompt, thorough, and impartial investigation, cessation of the violation if it is ongoing, and adequate preparation, including as necessary restitution, compensation, satisfaction, rehabilitation, and guarantees of non-repetition. The second one, guaranteeing that victims of environmental harms have the right to truth, right to information about the facts and circumstances surrounding the violation, which should also be disclosed to the public, provided that it causes no further harm to the victim. So that's why here the policy and laws for mandatory due diligence process on human rights and environmental matters in business operation is very essential, because through this process, business also can provide the fact to the public, and also public also can know what's going on with business activities when there is environmental harm or human rights abuse. The third one, state must adopt a range of legislative and policy measures to alleviate the barriers that these victims face. I already talked a little bit about this, about cost, financial risk of litigation, credible representatives, and also experts. Thank you so much. This is all from me.
Thank you, Mr. Mere. I will not conclude what Mr. Mere has been explained from his paper, but I would like to highlight the what his papers, that business have two phases, burden and benefits, both for the society. And then from this paper, I know that it already apply the three pillars of environment, democracy, especially for the justice one, and he is stressing about the remedy justice in his paper. And then I would like to invite the second speaker, Ibu Ruka Sambolinggi. You have 12 minutes to present your material, ma'am, and screen is yours.
Okay. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you very much. Kure sumanga dalam bahasa saya. Manasu moraka. That's my greetings, which means have the cooked ready, have the food ready. That's how important food and culinary in our culture, the Toraja people. I belong to the Toraja in the mountain side of Sulawesi. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Well, I have 12 minutes. I hope I can maximize my time. I regret that I couldn't write my presentations in English because I didn't realize that this is going to be in English. So I will try my best. Let me share my screen. Oh, where is it? Okay, here you go. Yeah. Speaking about, as we talk today, our topic is about green growth, access to justice for indigenous peoples in Indonesia, for masyarakat adat. It is still a very far away. Yeah, it's still beyond the imaginations of indigenous peoples in Indonesia when we talk about access to justice and green growth. Why? Because as of today, our constitutional rights as indigenous peoples, our inherent rights, our collective rights remains stuck in the constitutions. Ever since the independence of Indonesia, that recognize our collective rights as indigenous peoples, that recognize that we have already around, even before Indonesia was declared as a state, modern state, yet today we still don't have yet our recognitions. What we have in the Constitution is on the Article 18B, provisions 2, and then on the Article 28I, and then also in the Article 32. These are all a set of recognitions and protections in the constitutions to our collective rights as indigenous peoples in Indonesia. However, until today, we are not yet have this in the law or in the act, which ended in the situations of Indonesia, indigenous peoples in Indonesia today. We still don't have the certainty of our collective rights as indigenous peoples. However, we already have the ruling from the Constitutional Court saying that we do have our collective rights to our territory and resources, including our customary forests. This is detailed in Indonesia. What's the Constitutional Court ruling in 2013? But I will just skip go through fast through this because I only have 12 minutes. Yeah, so I can share later, and then I'm sure our friends can translate for you, or I can also take some time to translate later. Also, as of today, we've done our part as indigenous peoples. We have mapped our territories, and as of today, we already have more than 11 million our indigenous maps verified by what we call Badan Registrasi Wilayah Adat or Ancestral Domain Registration Agency. This is already, we mark the boundaries and also we write down the history of our territory. As of today, we have already handed the government of Indonesia, the central government have received 10.65 to they received from us, and they promised to put it in the One Map Indonesia. However, today it's not yet the reality. Our map is even now invisible in the One Map Indonesia. So this is the situations of our indigenous map. There are some that is already recognized by the local law. There are already some who are recognized by the district regulations, district decree. And also we do have a map, the potential, what are the things that we can utilize together within our indigenous territory, especially in the customary forest. When it comes to the how indigenous peoples, how do we try to engage with the state so far? So AMAN was established in 1999 March, and it was a very rough start because during that time we just started what we call reform era. So everybody was so excited and all the suppressed anger coming out. So the form of AMAN, of indigenous peoples back then, was very confrontative. But then in 2007, we realized this is the time that we need to mengulurkan tangan, engage. So we started to engage with the state, with the parliament, with the government. And then ever since that has been our approach. Because we realize the government not necessarily understand about our situations, therefore we need to help them. So that's actually why we have done our customary forest map. We have also done our all indigenous territories map, because that's the effort, that's what we feel that we can play our role on that, because that's what we can do best. I think what I can highlight is during the Jokowi regime, because we have actually officially met him 3 times, including before he ran for the presidential election in 2014. However, in the Nawacita in 2014, nothing has been done basically. Yeah. He promised that he will make make sure that the indigenous people's law will be adopted. It remains draft. It remains in the parliament as of today. And also the indigenous people's map actually it was the President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono who accepted our map first in 2012, and we continue to hand our map to central government. But today our map, Indigenous Peoples map, even have been dropped from the One Map Indonesia. And I think I'm sure the DPR, the parliamentary here of Indonesia, can actually listen to this and can do something about this. And then just recently, we all know the Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja, we call it Undang-Undang Cilaka, because this will put indigenous peoples in the more difficult situations. And what government say that this will expedite the economy, we promise it's not going to be, because we will face so much resistance in the ground, and that actually the cost of the productions of this investment will be so much higher, even without the omnibus, the Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja. There are already ongoing conflict everywhere in Indonesia, unsolved. And on top of that, we are having this new policy that I am sure, I can assure you that it's not going to be very smooth as what the president said. And then, because what is going on in Indonesia so far, you can see here, when indigenous people's land has been going to the hand of the investors, it's never with our free, prior, and informed consent. We don't even know the decisions are made where. Yeah, and when indigenous peoples are trying to defend, when we stand up to defend our land, we become criminals. So you see here, our leaders are behind the bars. Our leaders put in jail. And our women are harassed, our next generation, and this is the next generations of Indonesia. It's not just next generations of indigenous peoples ourselves, but this is the generation of Indonesia. And I want you to pay attention when we talk about access to justice on the picture in the central. That his name is Antimo. And when we talk about access to justice, this also it is actually how the interface between indigenous judiciary system and the state judiciary system. What happened with Antimo case is he was arrested because of a murder case, and as the chief, he took the responsibility. And he was put in jail, and he was sentenced to 5 years. And that we need to also appreciate the work of the hakim, the judge, because then he considered his situations when making the judgment, when making the verdict, the final verdict. What happened was he didn't speak Bahasa Indonesian language at all. He didn't even speak the common language that is used in Central Sulawesi. He is from Central Sulawesi, up in the mountain. He didn't even know that Indonesia was exist. But because he was defending his customary law, and this is, we need to find solutions together. He needs to find, he defended, he execute the decisions of the customary court, and then he become a criminal against Indonesian law, criminal law, that in his mind never exists. So this is and then all the proceedings, it took us like more than a year, because we need to find somebody that at least can speak to him, at least can understand him. So the procedures went on without him fully understand what is going on, and especially the language he didn't understand. So that's the situations when we talk about the interface between customary law and then the state law. But let me close my because as we talk about green growth, let me close my presentations by presenting you the situations that we are facing now during this pandemic. We all aware that the current economic system is no longer feasible, nor even how you call it, alternative. We need to find solutions together. What we need to find is we need to rely on the economy that is based on our own economic systems. Our founding fathers have already laid out the fundamental economic of Indonesia based on solidarity, gotong royong. And that should be the future of Indonesia if we want to keep our state live longer. And what we have been doing so far is we've been doing a lot of work. We call it kedaulatan pangan. We are planting food and everything. But then, unfortunately, after the omnibus law was being adopted, the president of Indonesia again calling up for the big private companies like Cargill to talk about the food security of Indonesia. And I think this is another fast solutions to our future as Indonesian. Because why? Because in indigenous territories, we have so much. Actually, Indonesia, we are so rich. We are so rich. We need to just find out how do we utilize this together. And I wanted to show you, this is the examples of how the wealth in indigenous territory is so much that we can actually use it together for Indonesian development. This is the valuasi economy, the economic valuations of indigenous territory. And this is just, I can share the report later with you. And this is just the basic, the direct that we can access directly from our forest, from our indigenous territory. And I think this should be really the main reference when we talk about our new normal, our new economy for the future. But for that, definitely I would like to close this by saying, how do we make sure that we indigenous peoples also can contribute in the development of our country, our beloved country? We can only contribute if we are protected. We have the Undang-Undang Masyarakat Adat, and then of course we don't want the omnibus cilaka, what we call it. We don't need that actually, because just we can rely on our own actually as a country. So with that, thank you very much. I would say kurang semangat, terima kasih, dan thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Ruka. So it looks like if we talk about indigenous people, we realize that government in this thing face huge problem, huge homework to solve. As we know that from the beginning until now, indigenous people has been marginalized, but we will talk about this in the discussion session. For now, I would like to invite the third speaker, Bapak Dr. Muhdar, Bapak Dr. Muhammad Muhdar, SHM Hum. You have 12 minutes, sir. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for the time that was given to me. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Dean and Pa Agus who invite me in the meeting. And I would like to deliver my view. Please screen my paper, please. Moderator, could you please share my slide? No. Access to justice. No. Hello, could you please, next slide. Sorry. Okay. I address my view about access to justice, a portrait of environmental injustice in Kalimantan. I address this issue because of two reasons. First, the province is Kalimantan is a good example to describe the relationship between government, society, and user of natural resources in Indonesia. Second, the province provides all natural resources, important natural resources, including mining, oil and gas, forestry, including marine resources. But we cannot explain clearly about access to justice if we cannot identify the portrait of distribution of environmental, of natural resources in Indonesia that have caused environmental injustice and a trigger conflict in society. Natural resource management in Kalimantan, especially mining sector. In this time, I described about this. The use of natural resources in Indonesia, in general and particularly in East Kalimantan, is overexploited. That is consumed at a rate higher than the recovery rate. As you know, in East Kalimantan, produce around 400 million ton coal mine, and the using of the land around about 5.2 million hectares. And the local government still promote the exploitation of natural resources as financial revenue. But at the same time, there are negative problems cannot be eliminated, causing the community to bear the environmental risk to the extent the community pay the cost of externalities. We can the mining map of Kalimantan. If we take a closer look at Kalimantan mining map, we can see almost land is allocated only for mining. There is no sign for forest area conservation or plantation and public space, something like that, and including the other activities. Its SIM map was made without thinking other user. As a result, the overlapping is unavoidable. And I like to mention for types of overlapping, we can see coal mining between coal mining and a forest, and small land, community settlement, including plantations. And we found like this, the photos, the portraits, the colliding between community settlement and mining sector. This picture shows us how mine overlaps with settlement community, and coal mining destroy the community settlement. Talking about access to justice, according to Article 28, the Indonesia Constitution, everyone shall have the right to live in physical and spiritual prosperity, to have a home and enjoy good and a healthy environment. And then Article 65, environmental protection and management. Everyone shall be entitled to a good and a healthy environment and part of human right. And Article 66, environmental protection and management. Everyone who fight the right to good and a healthy environment shall not be prosecuted on base criminal and civil law suit. Based on this constitutional and regulation, the legal from regarding access to justice are already available. In addition, if citizens face environmental injustice generated by natural resources users, they can access litigation process, especially for civil liability consists of individual claims cannot go to court to sue, class action citizen lawsuit, legal standing of environmental organization or USTANDI, government lawsuit representing the environmental and community. What next? My conclude and suggestion as follows. The first, transparency in the allocation of natural resources must be accessible for the public. Secondly, community participation licensing decisions, especially those around extractive activities, must be carried out properly. The states will not entrust the responsibility of maintaining public safety in the environmental sector to users of natural resources. Access to justice must also be interpreted as a distribution of benefit, not as a distribution of risk. Thank you. Back to you, moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Mudar. That was his explanation. Now I would like to invite the fourth speaker, Mr. Professor Dr. Mustafa Agung Sarjono. You have 12 minutes, sir, and time is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore, good afternoon, honorables, the member of the House of Representatives of the Republic of Indonesia, Ibu Lulu Hamidah, honorable the First Governor of East Kalimantan, Bapak Hadi Mulyadi, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am the last speaker for this very important event. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude thanks to the organizing committee for inviting me to be one of the panelists for this very important event. The title of my presentation is a bit long, so the strategies for increasing access to the environmental justice toward inclusive and equal green growth in Indonesia. And I'm bringing this and learn from East Kalimantan. Next, please. First, I would like to underline that in our midterm national development plan to 2020 to 2024, one of the agenda is developing environment, increasing disaster security, and climate change. And the focus of this agenda is actually increasing environmental quality, increasing disaster security and climate change, and low carbon development. These three I would be stressing points of this agenda actually have been what you call the done in East Kalimantan. Next, please. It is already stated in the mission of the RBGM di Kaltim 2019 to 2024. The second And the fourth mission of the midterm development plan of East Kalimantan is trying to show that the problem of environment and economic will be handled simultaneously. Next, please. In order to carry out the programs, actually since 2010, the government of Kalimantan has declared Kaltim green, and then 1 year left after, the Regional Climate Change Council, or we call it HDDPI Kaltim, was established. After the establishment of the DPI, so some activities were done. Among others is preparing documents of strategical plans, strengthening regulation, and also integration of climate change issues into regional development. These are actually activities which give us guarantee that the environmental issues will be handled carefully in the province. Next, please. This year, the East Kalimantan province start to carry out the program, what we call it as Program of Emission Reduction from Deforestation and Forest Degradation, based on the jurisdiction of East Kalimantan, what already called as FCPF Carbon Fund. The main consideration of this program is actually trying to reduce the carbon emission as fast as possible and doing the best to keep global warming far below 2 degrees Celsius. And one program that's very important in order to this project is actually reducing emission from deforestation and reducing emission from forest degradation. Next, please. The program that will be conducted or that will be implemented from 2020 to 2024 actually stressing in 6 components. They are improving forest and land governance, strengthening forest and land rehabilitation, reducing deforestation and forest degradation in licensing, developing sustainable living source alternative for communities, and management and program monitoring. These all programs actually have to take care of this, concentrate into some activities, but have to pay attention to the operational policy of the bank and also to the Cancun Safeguard and the Ministry Decree number 70, 2019. Next, please. Lesson learned from preparation process of jurisdiction-based emission reduction program. There are some challenges of the implementation of the program. The first is demanding consistency and strong commitment from planning, actuating, until monitoring and reporting of the program. The second is support from different parties are very important because they will be keys of smooth processes. The third is it's necessary to develop low carbon business and technology model in order to support the success of the program. And the fourth is actually needs to develop system and integrating data into the the planning program. There are some strategies that can be tested. The first is integrating emission reduction program, which contribute economic growth. The second is using spatial analysis and green growth modeling in the formulation of midterm development plan. And the third, try to synergize planning and monitoring of governmental, private sectors, and communities. Next, please. One issue that's very important related to the program and will be implemented also in the programs actually social forestry. Social forestry is the main program of this project because we know that it is actually faced directly by the local community, especially those who live around and in the forest. But there are some challenges of the implementation of the social forestry in East Kalimantan because the process is very slow. Only the minister may issue social forestry permit. Second, villages receive limited information and have very low capacity to apply social forestry permits. And the third, facilitation of the villages is less than optimum. The last but not least is existing social forestry permit have not been optimally managed by the community. Because of that, it is necessary to give more attention in the implementation of social forestry, because so far, the development of social program in the Philippines is still very low and also far beyond of the expectation. Next, please. I'm trying to bring two cases from East Kalimantan related to access of quality and environmental issue. First is about the public information disclosure, application of information on natural resources licensing. Based on the case, actually, there are some lessons that can be gained from the program, from the issue. That every citizen has right to get needed information, including licensing on natural resources. It just needs more efforts because the information is finally enhanced after long processes. You can see from this case, actually, it was started in 2017, but it will be finished in 2008. Next, please. The second case is actually related to the access to environmental justice, about the citizens' claims about environmental Samarinda. The lesson that we can get from this case is actually every single citizen has a right to claim environmental case, but it should be ensured about adequacy of its processes and stages to claim. So these two cases can be reflects the situation in East Kalimantan that actually there's a way to do the environmental management, but it should be also have some preparation for doing that. So I think that's all I can present. Hopefully it can give us more information and also inspiring us in our discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Agung. Before entering the question and answer session, I would like to invite the respondent. We have Bu Lulu Hamidah. She is a member of Committee for Agriculture, Forest and Environment. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, Honorable Chairperson of the Committee of the Interparliamentary Cooperation and Honorable Bapak Vice Governor, distinguished panelists, my fellow member of committee, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. There are so many unresolved issues when we are discussing on the access to environmental justice that I hardly decide on my starting point to respond to the panelists. However, to keep it succinct and on point, so I will focus on the keyword of the way forward. On the issue of reflection, there are indeed numerous harmful and also unregulatory practices in the past. But let us now focusing on the way forward. In my opinion, the progress on developing legal protection for the right to access environmental justice must be in parallel to the progress on developing mechanism to exercising those rights. The right to access to environmental justice contains both substantive, legal, and procedural aspects of justice. Those aspects must take into account the dynamics of the cultural, economic, and political context. The law must be updated regularly in order to keeping up with the changings of time. So in addition, the legal frameworks produced by legislators in Senayan must aim towards encouraging sufficient public participation in environmental matters. Public participation guarantees inclusiveness. It must also aim at enhancing to comprehensiveness of legal aid system in environmental matters. As for the right to manage and access the natural resources, so I agree wholeheartedly that it should be restored to the people. Conversion of the natural forest into large-scale commercial plantation that is less beneficial for the public should stop, as these are unsustainable economically and ecologically. The rights of Indonesia's indigenous people must be recognized as their presence is recognized and respected by the 1945 Constitution. This including the rights to own identities, cultures, and religious as well as land and resources. Mines, lodging, and plantation activities should refrain from forcible eviction of indigenous people. Then what is our role as the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation? Moving forward, As the committee with the core function of parliamentary diplomacy, it is also created an opportunity for us. Our committee could also advocating for access to environmental justice at global scale. It could be done through our active participation in annual assemblies of interparliamentary institutions and their regular meetings. We could put this issue on the table through outcome documents of the meetings, such as resolution that I suggest strongly. So currently, there are not many international instruments explicitly addressing the right to access environmental justice. And however, various legal instruments adopted various legal standing for effective remedy from human rights angle. For instance, Article 8 of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights, Article 23 of the International Covenants on Civil and Political Rights, and UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Hence, by adopting human rights-based approach to environmental matters, we could secure environmental conservation as part of irrepressible rights of people. There are my 2 cents of this issue, so I wish we get the points. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the response, Bu Lulu. Now I would like to open the question and answer session to all the participants. You can identify yourself and whom are you ask your question. Please. Okay, I will start this with my question first. As Mr. Muhdar said before, that access to justice must also be interpreted as a distribution of benefits, not as a distribution of risk. It's interesting because now we have this discussion in Kalimantan Timur. We know that this is the place that Kalimantan Timur is the place that we have all the good and bad results from utilization of natural resources here, especially the bad ones. So I would like to ask the speakers, all of the speakers, what are your recommendations? What are the next steps that we can take to to make the action plan for the next? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the questions. Risk distribution means the allocated the negative impact for people. But in the fact, I found some community, they have got problems with when we face each other, including the mining company, and the government didn't come to resolve it. And I recommend to the situation have to develop the good participation in the community when the government generate licensing, and especially in the coal mining sector.
That's all, Mr. Mudar?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The next, please. Mr. Agung, maybe. I asked all the speakers. Jadi my question is for all the speakers, sir. Okay, I'll repeat the question. As been said before that environmental justice is not about deliver the benefits of the impact not only the I'm sorry, I have to read it first because this is what Mr. Muhdar said in his slide. This one, access to justice must also be interpreted as distribution of benefits, not as a distribution of risk. And here we're in Kalimantan Timur, we, as you know, I'm sure that we are facing not only the benefits, but mostly the bad ones. And what is the next step that you recommend for us, for DPR, mostly, to take the next action plan? What could we do with that facts? Thank you.
It's a very big question. Thank you. But according to me, actually, there are actually some programs, especially in policy sector, for instance, like social forestry. Problem is that the authority, in order to issue the permits and also the other processes, are mostly in the hands of the central government. So the if we could try to put some of the authorities, not only in the central government but also in provincial government, I'm very sure that the benefit will be distributed also in the grassroots level. So I think the most important point of the environmental justice also how to put some of the authorities in the hands of the provincial level, not only just in the in the central level. This is in the case of, for instance, the implementation of the social forestry program, for instance, because this program is actually directed to the small scale, also the people in the grassroots level. So if it can be happen, so I do really hope that it will also support the environmental justice, especially for the I would say the community. So that's what I want to say actually. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Agung. How about Ibu Ruka? Please, Ibu Ruka.
Shall I start?
Hadir. Sorry, ternyata saya masih mute tadi. Untuk kalau khusus Kalimantan Timur ya, dari sisi masyarakat adat sebenarnya ini hanya betul-betul selama ini kita banyak yang mengatakan klise kalau kita bicara tentang political will, tapi untuk Kalimantan Timur ini benar-benar masalah political will. Di Kalimantan Timur sudah ada perda provinsi tentang masyarakat adat. Itu dalam situasi seperti ini di Kalimantan Timur kita tahu betul bahwa Kalimantan Timur itu seperti Pak Wakil Gubernur tadi sebutkan itu paling kaya, tapi kan sedikit sekali yang mengalir ke rakyat, sedikit sekali yang tinggal di Kalimantan Timur dari hasil-hasil pengerukan bumi yang sudah membuat banyak sekali masyarakat yang kehilangan tanah, termasuk masyarakat adat. Dan ini sejarah Kalimantan Timur untuk produksi industri ekstraktif kan ya nggak perlu lagi dijelaskan satu persatu. Situasinya kan kalau di dalam indikator kami di Aman, Kalimantan Timur termasuk yang merah gitu dari urusan ekstraktif ya, industri ekstraktif. Sehingga yang diperlukan sebenarnya sebelum Kalimantan Timur itu terjebak jauh lebih dalam kepada krisis lingkungan dan krisis ekonomi di Kalimantan Timur itu pertama, ask to start my video. Hang on. Soalnya saya numpang wifi tetangga dan anak-anak belum selesai bikin PR yang online. Nah, terima kasih. Jadi yang perlu dilakukan di Kalimantan Timur itu memang perda provinsi untuk masyarakat adat dilaksanakan, segera identifikasi, verifikasi dan pengukuhan masyarakat adat, dan wajib menurut saya sebelum terlambat harus evaluasi perizinan. Ada banyak sekali tumpang tindih perizinan di Kalimantan Timur itu, dan itu yang harus dibereskan, termasuk moratorium perizinan baru. Ya, sekarang ini Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja salah satu hambatan utamanya adalah kemudian kembali ke sentralisasi. Ini yang menurut saya harus bisa diatasi oleh pemerintah provinsi dan pemerintah daerah ya semuanya, karena sekarang ini kan semuanya balik lagi ke pusat. Jadi kadang saya ketawa, wah ribut sekarang orang berebut jadi gubernur dan bupati, padahal mereka hanya akan jadi tukang catat. Karena omnibus cilaka ini itu kembali lagi ke sentralisasi. Ya, jadi itu yang harus kita pikirkan lagi bersama-sama, dan hanya bisa dilakukan ketika memang kebijakan di tingkat provinsi itu baik dan legitim, dan karena itu yang punya legitimasi untuk meruntuhkan semangat sentralisasi yang ada di cilaka itu. Dan dan memang harus evaluasi perizinan. Banyak sekali izin yang tumpang tindih, ini harus dibereskan, termasuk tumpang tindih di atas wilayah adat, bukan hanya dan di kawasan lindung, di kawasan konservasi, bukan hanya tumpang tindih perizinan antara konsesi tambang dengan sawit. Saya lupa tadi memberikan, tapi saya punya presentasinya bagaimana di Lusan itu tumpang tindih bahkan sampai sudah tidak ketahuan siapa sebenarnya yang punya konsesi itu. Tumpang tindih antara sawit, batu bara, kemudian logging dulu, dan kemudian masuk lagi tambang, macam-macam. Nah, dengan melakukan ini, maka harus ditertibkan juga perusahaan-perusahaannya. Kalau dia memang sawit, karena banyak sekali perusahaan saat ini yang sebenarnya land banking. Ya, mereka terus mengambil izin, mendapatkan konsesi, tapi tidak produktif. Nah, ini juga yang harus ditertibkan oleh pemerintah, harus terus ditertibkan, dan mau tidak mau harus penataan RT/RW provinsi. Itu yang harus segera dibereskan. Nah, dari situ kemudian baru bisa bicara tentang what next, bagaimana sebenarnya merencanakan kehidupan Kalimantan Timur ke depan. Kalau kita bicara Kalimantan Timur, saya baru sebelum ini bicara dengan teman-teman di Provinsi Sulawesi Selatan, dan mereka sedang merencanakan pekerjaan bersama dengan Aman, bersama dengan kelompok petani di Sulawesi Selatan, dan ini yang juga salah satu yang sedang diprioritaskan. Dan memang kita ke depan, saya mengharapkan ke depan perdagangan domestik yang harus kita lintas provinsi, lintas pulau, lintas kabupaten, karena sebenarnya kita kaya raya kok gitu. Untuk ini kita kaya raya, dan we can do it. Jadi itu dari saya, dan jangan malu-malu buka perizinan itu. Masa harus digugat terus ke Komisi Informasi baru buka perizinan. Jangan seperti Kementerian ATR BPN, bahkan MA memerintahkan untuk dibuka perizinan, HGU pun tidak mau. Jadi menurut saya disclosure of information itu harus menjadi kewajiban, dan itu bagian dari yang disebut dengan accountability dari pemerintah. Itu yang akan membangun kepercayaan dari masyarakat dan juga menunjukkan bahwa pemerintah Kalimantan Timur itu transparan. Demikian dari saya. Sekali lagi, saya mungkin nanti diam-diam mengundurkan diri. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Ibu Ruka. Now I'm expecting the answer from Bapak Stefanus Winibaldus. Please, sir.
Thank you so much. I agree. If we can, it's quite very ideal if we talk about environmental justice, and we can only share about the benefits from environment or from our development. But the reality is that we also have this risk and also harm from the environment. If that happens, then we should also make sure that not only those who are vulnerable in our society, they are the one who burden the suffering of those harm. So ideally, I agree that it's only benefits. We should divide it. If we are successful with green growth or environmental justice, I think we can achieve that. But as long as we cannot achieve that, it's still very difficult. And also about what we should do relates to business. Actually, I quite agree with Ms. Ruka when she talks about indigenous people. Most of the time, usually the influence of, we cannot ignore the fact that the influence of business bodies is very strong when our parliaments making law. That's happened everywhere in every society, from the highest level to the lower level, because usually our local government and also central government, they want this, it's better for the country to have a good economic growth in the country. And then for that, we need business, of course. But in many cases, we listen more to this business group or business bodies and their interest, and then we forgot indigenous people, just like Mrs. Ruka talked about indigenous people in Sulawesi. So, but actually, when we have law, just like omnibus law, according to Mrs. Ruka, there's no impact for indigenous people. So what the meaning of why we make this kind of just like omnibus law then? So I think we should listen more to those who potentially become the victims, or those will suffer more from the environment, from our the way we approach the development, so that we really craft the regulation or policy that really affect people in local area, especially those who are most vulnerable in our society. If not, then we only have this top-down regulation. And then people at the bottom, those who really need that law, actually, they are the one become another victim of that law. So I think from now on, when we talk about public participation in environmental justice, I think we should listen more to those at the bottom of the society. That's the answer from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we have one participant who would like to ask the question. Miss Enda? Miss Enda, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, thank you. Please, Miss Enda.
Yes, thank you, Ibu Moderator. My name is Enda. I'm from the Secretariat of Bksap, but I am also the Executive Director for the Global Parliamentarians Against Corruption. So thank you for all the panelists. Thank you for the interesting insights. I understand that environmental justice demands the right of citizens to participate as equal partners at every level of citizen making. Having said that, improving access of citizens to environmental justice entails citizen inclusive participation at every step of decision-making process. For a country as vast and populous as Indonesia, it is certainly a big challenge to identify the scope of participation and the parties to be included in the process. So according to the panelists, what's the ideal proportion of the citizen participation? That's the question from me. Thank you so much for your answers.
Thank you. The panelists, please. Who would like to answer first? Ibu Ruka first, maybe. Ibu Ruka want to back out from the forum.
Tentang partisipasi ya?
Yes.
Did I get it right? The question was about the public participation?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think what we need to demokrasi ya, dari rakyat oleh rakyat untuk rakyat. Okay, start video again. Ya, dari rakyat oleh rakyat untuk rakyat. Itu adalah esensi dari demokrasi. Ya, dan partisipasi yang penuh, full and effective participation is a must. What kids zaman now sekarang ini bilang adalah nothing about us without us, and that's the essence of participations, because when people are deciding our future, we need to have a say. And that's the fundamental rights, I think, in my opinion, as indigenous peoples, we have to have that. That's also the bring legitimacy to our parliament, to our decision-making processes, because according to our laws and constitutions and also regulations, participation is one of the element of that command the quality of a public regulations and laws. So I think that is very important. Unfortunately, during this pandemic, especially, it's very difficult for us indigenous peoples. We have been on lockdown, because without lockdown we won't be able to survive this crisis. But the parliament keeps going on, and there is no mechanisms in place. There is not any mechanism in place for public to participate in decision-making processes. I think that's from me. So full and effective participation is the must. Nothing about us without us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Ruka. Maybe the next, Mr. Agung.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you talk about the participation, I think we know exactly that it is very important, because it's one of the key elements of what we call it as good governance. But the problem is not only the ideal proportion of the what you call it, the participation, especially of the community participation, but the problem is about the representativeness. So we call it as keterwakilan, because we know that actually even the community is actually not the single entity. Dia bukan entitas yang tunggal. There are some many fractions in the community itself. So the main point is actually how is the representative of the community can be participate in the process. It's not then what you call it, the percentage of the portion, but the representativeness of the community should be what you can present in the what say like in the event. So, jadi saya kira ini juga bagian yang sangat sulit kalau ditanyakan berapa proporsi yang ideal, karena memang menyampaikan sekian persen harus mengikuti atau berpartisipasi, tentu juga harus dilihat seberapa beragam masyarakat itu, karena keterwakilan suatu masyarakat juga menjadi penting, karena kita semua tahu bahwa ini yang akan menentukan mengenai hasil daripada suatu proses. Saya kira itu yang juga harus dipertimbangkan secara baik, gitu. Bukan proporsinya tapi juga keterwakilannya. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Mr. Agung. Maybe the next, Mr. Mudar.
Yeah. In my opinion, according to Article 70, environmental protection and management state that people shall have a right and equal opportunity to play in active role in protection and management of environmental. It means including the public participation relating to natural resources management have involved a community around of mining or natural resources activities. I mean, the site of the mining, forestry, plantation have to follow the community perspective. They have a chance to participate in the regulations and how to involve them in every stage of regulation stage. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Wimbaldus.
Thank you. When we talk about public participation, it's depend on the approach we take, whether we want to take a bottom-up or top-down. In many cases, it's easy way to take a top-down approach. But I think if we really want to have a regulation or policy that affects the change people's life, then or protect our environment, it should be a bottom up. And I think it's very important to make sure that public, especially those who are most vulnerable in our society, they have proper education about their situation, so they know what's going on around them, and then they can voice their concern. Without that, I think it's very difficult because one of our presenters talked about even some people they don't know whether they have that right or whether we have that kind of law, or even he also doesn't know that he is a part of Indonesia. So how can we expect public participation in this kind of situation? So the first of all, the states, the government should make sure that our people, they really understand about their situation in this country. So we, most of us in this country, even those who are most vulnerable in our society, they have roles in society. They have their own wisdom. They know what they can do from their own experience, not only from a formal education. And it is the duty of the government and also the parliament when they make law to make sure that these people also, they understand, they have knowledge, they know what's going on around them. Without that, we cannot expect this public participation at all, especially for indigenous community or those who have those who don't have education, proper education in our society. Because when we talk about environmental justice, we talk about this governing well, good governance. And when we talk about governing well, we talk about how people in that kind of government system, complex government systems, they understand their role in the society. Once they know their roles and then they understand what's going on around them, then they can participate. So I think one of the barriers for public participation in Indonesia, in our country, I think is education. People just even don't know whether they have rights or not, whether this land belongs to them or not, just because, for example, the company use army to chase them from that area. Some of them, they just accept that because they don't know whether they have rights or not. But some they think, no, because we already live here for a long time, these should be our rights and we should fight. And in order to fight, they should understand first that this is their rights. So I think, of course, we should make policy based on the participation of our people at the bottom line, but we also should make sure that these people also, they have a proper education. They should understand that the state should make sure that all these people also, they understand that they have that kind of rights. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It looks like Ibu Ruka wants to add something. Please, Ibu Ruka.
Ya, terima kasih. Tadi saya berbicara dalam konteks kebijakan publik. Nah, dalam konteks pembangunan yang seperti ini sekali lagi kita harus keluar dari pattern tradisi lama, ya, tradisi lama. Ketika mau ada yang disebut dengan good faith, itu mantra yang tetapi kadang-kadang tidak dilaksanakan, ya. Good intention, itikat baik, tetapi seperti kita ketahui, ya, road to hell is paved by good intentions. Dan banyak sekali praktek-praktek yang capek kalau mau mengurai satu persatu, ya. Yang diperlukan di sini peran pemerintah, peran negara, peran DPR sebagai bagian dari rakyat Indonesia. Dalam kasus-kasus masyarakat adat ini yang disebut dengan good intention atau itikat baik atau good faith itu tidak ada sama sekali. Kalau berurusan dengan perusahaan, dengan investor-investor. Bahkan partisipasi penuh yang disebut sebagai free pre-informed consent itu kan sederhana. Itu sama dengan ada orang yang mau datang nginap di rumah kita nggak sembarangan buka pintu. Kita harus tahu dia berapa lama mau menginap, dia mau makan apa saja, apa dampaknya kalau dia akan nginap di rumah kita semalam atau 2 malam atau 3 malam. berapa banyak makanan yang akan kita berikan kepada mereka, karena kalau tamu harus kita kasih makan. Dia akan tidur di mana? Itu sederhana, sesederhana itu yang disebut dengan free prior informed consent, dan kita harus memutuskan apakah dia boleh tinggal lama atau tidak. Tetapi ini yang tidak pernah terjadi. Bahkan AMDAL yang saat sesuai dengan undang-undang yang saat ini ada itu banyak sekali dimanipulasi, gitu ya, banyak sekali dimanipulasi. Padahal itu pun sudah membatasi partisipasi publik. Dan bahkan yang lebih parah lagi, yang disebut dengan partisipasi ini, kenapa dia menjadi alat yang sangat berbahaya? Karena tadi itu dibatasi partisipasinya sehingga memang digunakan untuk mencaplok, menghegemoni elit-elit adat yang ada di kampung, kepala-kepala adat. Kemudian kalau tidak manjur, itu maka praktek-praktek lain akan terus terjadi, berujung pada yang disebut dengan pecah belah, ya, pecah belah. Dan biasanya ketika pecah belah terjadi, semuanya itu memang sengaja dibuat. Pemerintah tidak akan pernah berusaha, atau perusahaan tidak akan pernah mendudukkan pihak-pihak yang berbeda suara di dalam kampung, tapi justru akan menggunakan itu untuk terus-terus mengambil keuntungan. Ini bukan hanya kata-kata saya, tapi ini adalah temuan dari Inquiry Nasional Komnas HAM tentang pelanggaran hak asasi masyarakat adat dalam kawasan hutan. Bahwa praktek-praktek yang disebut dengan partisipasi, atas nama partisipasi, itu menjadi disalahgunakan, dan tujuannya adalah untuk merampas wilayah-wilayah adat. Saya mau kasih contoh satu di Kalimantan Timur, di Kutai Barat. Ya, di Kutai Barat. Di Kutai Barat itu yang namanya di Muara Tae, bahkan sampai bupati punya kewenangan gitu untuk memecat kepala desa. Padahal kepala desa itu dipilih oleh warga desa karena menolak perusahaan. Lalu kemudian batas-batas desa pun dipindahkan supaya bisa diakui oleh desa tetangganya, gitu ya. Bahkan terus dikriminalisasi gitu. Ada di daftar panggil. Begitu ada mereka bersuara, dipanggil lagi, melapor. Betapa repotnya bertahun-tahun terus masuk di dalam daftar panggil polisi itu. Dan menurut saya praktek-praktek seperti ini kalau kita mau selamat, ini harus dihentikan. Dan partisipasi penuh dalam bentuk free prior informed consent di dalam pengambilan kebijakan itu harus menjadi praktek baru yang benar-benar dilakukan bersama-sama oleh pemerintah dan DPR. Dan khususnya bila berhadapan-hadapan antara masyarakat adat dengan perusahaan. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Ibu Ruka. We have another question here from Raffio FWD. I'll read the question. When we talk of access to justice, we tend to talk of legal aid and legal mechanism, whereas justice comes at a cost. Wages lost during court process, administrative fees here and there, logistic costs, legal counsel, etc. Given that the people most affected by environmental destruction often have limited resources to be able to seek justice to the full extent, are there opportunities to substitute the rigorous, expensive justice mechanism process with more dialogue between policymakers and citizens? Context, he gave us context here. Failure to provide justice due to technicality. Looking at examples such as mass evictions in Taman Sari, Bandung, and Kulon Progo, Yogyakarta. So this is for all the panelists. Maybe I'd like to give Mr. Muhdar first for his answer. Please, sir, screen is yours.
Moderator, this question, I think the mostly victim come from the poor community. They have no access to legal agency. That's why some NGO or civil society provide how to increase the education in the legal process, like paralegal mechanism. The poor community affected by natural resources management from the company, something like that, they improve their skill. At least they can write something to report to the police, and how to access the paralegal, how to access the lawyer, and how to access the government institutions. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you. Bapak Mere, do you want to answer this first, sir?
Yes. Of course, I think it's one of the main purpose why we talk about environmental justice. I think because of this, not only environmental harm itself, but also because of this complex legal procedural this process in order to get justice itself. So that's why I think it's very important for the parliament also to enact law that try to at least simplify this all to overcome all these barriers. So if it's too expensive, then it's better the country should burden the cost for these vulnerable people, especially related to environmental harms. Because if we only ask them to pay something, it's very difficult for them because they will not have justice because they don't have all the resources with them. So that's why we talk about the access to environmental justice today. I think this is also how we should enact law, make law that really make them easy to approach that justice they need in their life. So if it's too expensive, then it's very difficult for them. Or if it's expensive, then the country should responsible for the cost of these legal procedures. And also, I think I agree with the one who asked this question. Maybe not only using this state-based judicial mechanism, but also we should make sure that this, for example, human rights bodies or environmental agencies in our country, they really can perform well with the support from the government because they are part of the government. And then they can help these people, for example, mediation, because legal process is too long and too expensive. Then this kind of mediation also can bring immediate justice for those who become the victims of environmental harms. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Agung, maybe you want to answer? Okay. No answer from Mr. Agung. So I'd like to invite Ibu Ruka, please answer this question. Screen is yours, ma'am.
Ya, screen is yours. Baru kali ini saya dengar itu. Makasih banyak, terinspirasi. Ya, menurut saya mimpi terbesar saya itu adalah aman itu akan menjadi sejarah saja. Ya, karena apa yang kami lakukan ini, kami ini ada karena negara ini absen. Tidak hadir di tengah-tengah masyarakat adat. Sehingga mimpi saya adalah suatu saat negara akan betul-betul hadir di tengah-tengah masyarakat adat dan aman ini kemudian menjadi sejarah saja. Bicara tentang biaya ya, access to justice, biaya untuk ikut yang namanya mengikuti sesuai dengan legal formal saja itu mahal sekali. Dari tahun, saya punya angka di sini, kebetulan kemarin saya baru kasih ke teman-teman wartawan, dari tahun 2017 saja itu ada 137 kasus, itu kasus yang ditangani oleh Aman secara langsung. Dan kalau diuangkan, satu kasus itu minimal kami harus keluarkan sekitar 300 juta rupiah. Ya, dan ini adalah kasus kriminalisasi. Ini hanya kasus kriminalisasi. Belum lagi kita harus berikan bantuan untuk keluarganya. Atau kalau digusur, kasus Pubabu yang saat ini yang ramai waktu bulan Agustus itu, saat ini mereka gitu harus dipulangkan ke kampungnya dan mereka harus punya rumah. Mereka mau tinggal di mana? Pemerintah sama sekali tidak memikirkan itu. Sementara mereka diusir dari tanahnya. Kasus Semunying di Kalimantan Barat, ya, kasus Semunying di Kalimantan Barat itu keluar sekitar 600 juta rupiah, tapi mereka kalah juga. Kalah juga karena mereka tidak disebut sebagai subjek hukum, NO katanya. Nah, bahkan ketika ada keinginan untuk mencari keadilan di dalam konstruksi hukum keadilan di Indonesia ini juga mahal sekali dan belum tentu berhasil. Ya, kasus seperti yang saya sebutkan tadi yang bahkan tidak tahu bahwa Indonesia sudah ada Antimo itu kami harus mendatangkan saksi ahli. Kami harus membiayai teman-teman yang datang ke sana untuk mendampingi beliau. Kami harus membiayai orang-orang yang ada di sana untuk datang dan berbicara dengan kepala pengadilan. Mahal sekali yang disebut dengan access to justice. Belum lagi yang dampak penggusuran segala macam itu nggak bisa diuangkan lagi. Dan yang paling penting yang harus kita ingat, culture, cultural dignity, itu nggak mungkin bisa diuangkan. Ketika masyarakat ada tercerabut dari akarnya, dari tanahnya, itu adalah kerugian yang beyond repair. Nggak mungkin bisa di-repair, nggak mungkin yang namanya cultural heritage, yang tangible maupun intangible, itu bisa ada reparasinya. Menurut saya ini kenapa praktek-praktek ekstraktif, praktek-praktek yang betul-betul menghancurkan, yang destruktif, itu harus betul-betul ditinggalkan. Kalau tidak, Indonesia ini hanya akan ada nanti karena seragam anak sekolah, seragam makanan KFC mungkin, atau seragam baju ASN, mungkin hanya itu nanti wajah Indonesia. Kalau praktek yang kita lakukan saat ini terus-terus dilakukan, dan itu biayanya mahal sekali. Dan saya sungguh-sungguh berharap suatu saat aman ini hanya akan menjadi sejarah ketika negara sudah hadir seutuhnya di tengah-tengah masyarakat adat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bu Ruka. I think that's all for the question and answer session. Before closing this FGD, I'd like to quote some words from Robert Rubin that we do not face a choice between protecting our environment or protecting our economy, but we face a choice between protecting our economy by protecting our environment or allowing our environment havoc to create economic havoc. That's all, everyone. Thank you. I'd like to give back the forum to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Moderator. Thank you to all participants. As it has been said in the opening remarks of Dr. Fadlizon this morning, today's FGD is the final of the trilogy on the pillars of environmental democracy. However, the Committee for Interparliamentary Cooperation still has many programs and activities in the near future. So, follow us on social media and stay tuned for the latest update on our activities. From Samarinda, we're signing off now. Stay safe, stay healthy. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And stay sane.